What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today it's Game Week 9 captaincy. And in the last couple of game weeks, I've been doing captaincy videos. It's been like, it's between this game, or it's between this player and this player. This week, there genuinely feels like there's a lot of good options, and there is a lot of choice that people are making, right? We're not just narrowed down to just a couple of players, and I think that's good for the game. I always enjoy game weeks like this, although it can hurt when you get it wrong. So quite a few games to go through, so please do hit that like button if you enjoy it. Please do hit subscribe if you're enjoying my content and you haven't yet done that. Please consider doing that. I will just say, I'm recording this. I always obviously record in advance of when it actually goes out, and the beauty of FPL is sometimes what you say, like yesterday when I talked about Salah and then there was obviously news about another test, that happens. I'm recording this one even earlier than normal to get it out, so hopefully there's not too much kind of news and press conferences and stuff that changes my opinion or what I say or alters it drastically, but obviously keep that in the back of your mind. If someone suddenly gets injured and I've talked about them, that is why, but that's, that is the beauty of FPL. Sometimes you have to record early and sometimes there will be injuries. So I'll shut up now with the intro and let's get into the first game, Villa versus Brighton. So this is a popular match where a lot of people are looking to captain a certain player, and that is Neil Maupay. Jack Grealish. A lot of people want to captain Jack Grealish, and for good reason, right? He's in a good bit of form. I think he's had 10 attacking returns already. Doesn't look like letting up. He's now had his competitive debut for England. It's all looking good for Jack Grealish right now. And I looked at some of the numbers. So shots in the box wise, Villa are on 74 for the season. That's the fourth highest in the league. Brighton have got 63, so not too far behind. In terms of the last 4 game weeks, it's 40 shots in the box for Aston Villa. That's the second highest. Now, shots conceded obviously important because you want to be able to put goals past people, and obviously a lot of that comes from having shots in the box where you're most likely to score. Villa have conceded 38 shots in the box. That's the third highest, right? So defensively, we're all jumping on like Martinez and Mings and Target, etc. But they're the third highest for shots conceded in the box. Brighton have conceded just 12. Now, the fixtures are a little bit different, right? Brighton have had some pretty good fixtures to play. But 12 shots in 4 games in the box is absolutely insane. I have to keep rechecking that, right? I can't believe that Brighton are conceding so few shots. It's obviously not converting to clean sheets. But if they keep that up, it will do at some point. So it doesn't put me off captaining a Villa player, but perhaps Brighton are better defensively than they look, right? So they are making some mistakes. They are conceding goals, but in terms of the amount of shots they're conceding, it's very little. So if they could just get a goalkeeper, if Matt Ryan can start saving some of those shots, they'd be in a decent position, right? And Brighton are the best for the whole season when it comes to shots in the box. Higher than, or fewer, shots conceded in the box than even Man City. And they've played a game more. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I don't think Brighton are necessarily pushovers by any stretch, but I can see why people want to go for it, because ultimately Villa are a very attacking team this season, even more so than last year. So Grealish, 19 shots in the box. I think that puts him like 5th or 6th highest in the whole league. 19 chances created. Only 6 players have had more shots in the box. So he's doing pretty well. He's creating a lot. He's getting into the box probably a little bit more than maybe he did last season. So he's a genuine option. I think Watkins is as well. Penalties, 90 minutes. And in a normal game week, I probably wouldn't go for Aston Villa. Let's be real. There are still better captaincy options probably out there. Man United players, Mane at Liverpool, I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So there are probably better options. But in a week where I think it's going to be a little bit more spread, not everyone's going to be going to Kane and Son, Salah's injured, I think it could be a nice option to go for Villa here just because Brighton are conceding goals. But if you follow the numbers, the underlying numbers, it's looking pretty good for Brighton, but they do still find a way to concede. So that would probably make me happy enough to captain Grealish. I'm not saying I will do that, but if you really want to go for it, while he's in this red-hot form and about to play a Brighton team that always find a way to concede goals, he's a pretty decent captain, I would say. So moving on to Newcastle versus Chelsea. Now, Newcastle defence is really bad, okay? It looked pretty bad last year. They've carried that form, if you want to say form, into this season, and they're still bad. Only Leeds have conceded more shots in the box so far this season. Newcastle are a team that I would target for captaincy if you own any of their players. So a lot of people probably still got Werner, maybe a few people have jumped on Ziyech as well. And also Chelsea have scored the most goals so far this season. So expected goals is not quite the highest there yet for Chelsea, but it was right up there last year. And they look like they're going to be doing that again this year. So I think the two main contenders realistically are Werner and Ziyech, because I don't think Pulisic's going to be there. Havertz might not, and I don't think he's really a captain option anyway. You've got Abraham if he plays again potentially, but realistically it's Ziyech and Werner. Now, Ziyech has just got 2 double-figure hauls in a row, so I can't really sit here and say he's a bad captaincy option. What I will say is he's only had 1 shot in the box in the last 2 game weeks. So in terms of goal threat, I feel like most of it's going to have to come outside the box, potentially from a set piece, which obviously can happen. And I think I would put Ziyech in a similar mould to James Rodriguez. Most of his points are going to come from assists. He's got the potential to get more than 1 assist in a game, and he will pop up with goals every now and again. So I think he's an okay option. My only worry with him, at some point, he's going to have a game where he's assisting the assister potentially, or he just gets 1 assist, no bonus points, and suddenly those double-figure hauls start to dry up. I'm not saying Ziyech is not a really good option to have in our teams. For 8.2 million, I think he's going to tick over nicely, and I can see why people have gone for him. But I'm still not sure, even though everything kind of goes through him now, that I would want him as a captain. I think Werner's a better option, more likely to get you a goal, plenty of shots in the box so far this season. Now he's on penalties too. That really helps. Not saying they'll definitely get one, but obviously if they do get one, he is now going to take it. He's ahead of Jorginho in the pecking order. And Chelsea have already had 2 or 3. So imagine if Werner had got those penalties early on. So in the last 4 game weeks, Werner's on the second highest non-penalty expected goals. So he's starting to hit a little bit of form, I would say. Chelsea are continuing to score goals as well. And this is probably then their best fixture in the next 5. So if you're a Werner owner, I do think there's a good opportunity here to captain him when a lot of people will look elsewhere. Like I say, I'm not writing Ziyech off. For me, I'd probably like to have him in my team. For 8.2 million, it'd be great value. I'm not sure I would ever consider him as a captain, at least not yet. So Man United versus West Brom is pretty popular this week, and for good reason. Not too often we're probably going to be captain a Man United player, I would say, this season, especially over the next kind of 5 to 10 game weeks. But this week is looking pretty good. Now, I've seen some people saying that West Brom have tightened up, and maybe they have over the last couple of game weeks, but they are still conceded the 4th most shots in the box this season. They've got the highest expected goals conceded, and I just think a team like that, how much can they really strengthen their defence? I know Ivanovic has come in, etc., and added a lot of experience into that back line, but it's still Man United, right? It's still a good fixture, and I've said this already this week, I don't care about the home and away thing, right? I just pay little attention to that anyway, especially this season. The last 3 home games for Man United have been Spurs, Arsenal and Chelsea, right? Difficult games. Look, Man United should have done better in those games, absolutely, and maybe scored a few more goals, but it's still not a fixture as good as West Brom. So for me, this is where fixture just takes over, right? Now, I think any of the players you might own from their attack, Martial, Fernandes or Rashford, are all fairly good options. We'll start with Martial. His form this season would worry me. He hasn't looked on it. He's looked rusty at times. It's just not really clicking for him right now. He got given a penalty in the Champions League just to get him off the mark. Maybe that helps. I don't know. He wouldn't be my first choice from this game. Let's just say that. I definitely 100% in pretty much any given game week, to be honest, rather captain Rashford and Fernandes as midfielders and just looking better so far this season. But it is one of those cases where I don't like captaining players on a hunch, a gut feeling, he might do well, or he might do okay this week. But it is West Brom at home, and maybe that is the fixture for Martial. Maybe if they have tightened up and they're going to need, a bit of poachers goals in the 6-yard box. We saw that last year when he played Sheffield United, for example. Maybe it'll be the fixture for Martial, but the way he's played so far this season, it would worry me a little bit. Obviously, we've still got to take into account injuries and stuff like that, because I think he was training alone for France potentially, so we'll have to wait and see what Solskjaer says. But yeah, Martial's okay. I think Rashford and Fernandes are definitely the 2 I'd be looking at from this fixture. I've kind of almost given up talking about Fernandes' stats, right? I think he's like 53rd highest non-penalty expected goals. Who cares, right? He's got over 7 points per game. Could be another penalty in this match. I don't know. At some point, I feel like he's going to go for a run of games where he just disappoints owners. But how can I say it's going to be this game for West Brom? So he probably is the best captain option from this fixture. But I'm saying again, if there's no penalties, Rashford has every chance of outscoring him. So I think as long as everyone's fit, obviously those are the 3 you're looking at. Fernandes and Rashford, really good. And I think in terms of fixtures this week, I mean, the Newcastle game for Chelsea is really good. But this is probably the best fixture. So if you're targeting captaincy based on fixture specifically, this probably is the best one, although Everton, who we'll talk about in a sec, they run it pretty close too. So with all the recent kind of suspensions and injuries at Everton, I think we've maybe forgotten just what they are capable of this season. Under Ancelotti with that new look midfield, obviously Calvert-Lewin just in great form, probably the form of his life as well. And I had a look back, right? So they scored 5 goals against West Brom, newly promoted side, just like Fulham. 4 against Brighton, 2 against Liverpool, another couple of goals against Crystal Palace. So they have been scoring goals. They have had a few issues recently unfortunately, like I said, suspensions and injuries. Rodriguez missed the game. Luka Dean's been suspended. Richarlison's been suspended as well. So there maybe is a disciplinary issue there. But this week they should have everyone back fit they're going to need. There's a chance that Allen misses out. I think he's flagged at the moment. Coleman too. But hopefully they'll be back. And if not, most of their main men, unless there's more news by the time this goes out or before the deadline, look pretty good this week. So I've had a look at the options. I think, for me, James Rodriguez is a bit like Ziyech. I mean, James Rodriguez has already had 2 big scores so far this season. I had him in my team. And I really do think he's a great option. I may regret not really considering, I haven't really considered getting him back, to be completely honest, and I may regret that. But again, he doesn't strike me as a player I would ever seriously consider giving the captaincy to, because in any given game I'm thinking, right, he's definitely going to assist here. If they score a goal, he'll be on the end of it. He'll take a corner, he'll take a free kick, it'll be an open play through ball, whatever it might be. I'm never picturing him in the box too often. There was that game, I think, when Richarlison went off or was suspended or injured. I can't quite remember. But Iwobi played the ball in, and Rodriguez scored twice. He was in the box, but you just don't see that often. So I think he's, again, like Ziyech, a really good option for your FPL team. Not a captaincy for me. For me, it would be Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin. I actually think it's so close, right? If you look at the numbers this season, so I'm looking per 90, which makes it a little bit fairer because on any given game, they're going to probably both play close to 90 minutes. And obviously, Richarlison's missed out. So I've put it down to per 90 minutes. Expected goals, Calvert-Lewin on 0.65, only 0.15 ahead of what he was last year. So he could keep this up. He's in such good form. And then Richarlison's 0.62. So very close. And expected goals involvement, so goals and assists, Calvert-Lewin's 0.7, Richarlison's 0.71. So in terms of who people own, I really do think Calvert-Lewin's a great option this week. I think Richarlison could match him. So if you've got Richarlison and you want to go a little bit different, but with a little risk, right? This isn't different for different sake. This is saying Richarlison's in great form, Calvert-Lewin's in great form. I'm going to captain the one with less ownership, and hopefully it'll be the day where he gets through on goal a few more times than Calvert-Lewin. But I do think this is a good fixture. A bit like West Brom, this is a fixture that I would target. Usually I would try and captain a midfielder over a forward. So if you've got like a Grealish maybe, but definitely like a Rashford or Fernandes, for me they're probably slightly better options than Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison. But in their own right, in terms of how many goals they might score this week, I think Everton, if they've got everyone back, going to be looking really good against Fulham, and they're going to want to show what they can do, right? Because we haven't seen it for a little while now because of the injuries and suspensions. So yeah, I think this is a good one. I think plenty of people are going to captain Calvert-Lewin, and who's to say he won't score another couple of goals. So Liverpool versus Leicester up next. Let me quickly cover Leicester, right? So I've spoken about Jamie Vardy on the Game Week preview. For me, I just wouldn't be captaining him in this fixture. I don't think Liverpool are going to lose enough players where suddenly they're a weak team and worth targeting, right? There was rumours, or at least a report, that Firmino had tested positive and Alisson had tested negative. I don't know exactly what's come of that, so maybe they are going to miss another player or two. But as it stands right now, it looks like Salah is the main player that's going to miss out, other than the injuries that we already know about, so Trent and Van Dijk. So potentially it's going to be Alisson in goal, Milner right back, Matip centre back alongside another centre back, Robertson left back. So a pretty, if not as solid, definitely not as solid, but a solid enough defence with a lot of experience. And then if Salah misses out, it's Mane, Jota and Firmino up front, or in the front three. Then Henderson's fit, or I should be fit anyway. Wijnaldum's fit as well. And either they put in another attacker, maybe they play Shaqiri, or they put in another midfielder, whatever it might be. It's still a strong team, right? And I think a lot of the points that Vardy's had this season have been propped up by penalties. Of course, not saying that he can't get one against Liverpool, but I don't think that's a weak team. So for me, Jamie Vardy would be to be honest, he'd be quite low down my list of captaincy this week. Liverpool, I still think if they've got all those players available, are still worth looking at a captaincy. Like, for me, if I've been looking at maybe getting rid of Salah, and I've been looking to De Bruyne, to Sterling, to Fernandes. I've overlooked Mane, to be completely honest, because it just doesn't feel that exciting to go from one Liverpool mid to another. But realistically, he is one of the best captaincy options this week. I know Leicester have been fairly good defensively, but ultimately I think this is one of those where the attack just comes out, and Liverpool's attack is so good that you have to consider them in this game. So I think Mane is one of the best attackers this week to captain. I think if you look at it kind of maybe logically or from a, an underlying stats point of view or whatever it might be, he probably is right up there as one of the best. I don't think many people are going to captain him because not many people probably own him compared to some of the players we've talked about. But if you're saying like right now, if I could choose any player and it's Mane, Fernandes, Rashford, Grealish, I wouldn't put too much money on the others outscoring Mane. I really do think he's that good. So if you've got him, I think his numbers look really good. His goal threat looks really good compared to a lot of other players. I think he's going to get chances against Leicester. If Salah's out, he will have to be the main man. Of course, Jota's doing really well at the moment as well, but I wouldn't imagine that most of the attacks will go through Mane, right? So I think if you've got him, really good option. Leicester are a decent team. But it's Liverpool. They get chances even if Salah's missing. So that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a like. I will just touch on Man City versus Spurs before I get lynched, because I didn't talk about them, right? For me, Kane and Son, it's just not the week to captain them. Yes, of course, they could score. I keep seeing that. They could score. It's Man City. Not many teams put many goals past Man City. If they do score, will it be one of Son or Kane? Probably. But realistically, you're always betting on odds. And this week is not, for me, a week to back Spurs against that Man City team. You could go for Man City players, because I think Spurs' defence is a little bit weaker. So Sterling and De Bruyne come into the picture. But I still think it's a tough game, and I do think it will be tight. So I didn't really strongly consider them to put in there because of that. I mean, you could say, to be fair, that Spurs versus City is no different to Liverpool versus Leicester. And if you wanted to say that, I probably wouldn't argue too much. But for me, I wouldn't be probably captain a player in that game. I mean, look, who's to say that De Bruyne won't go and do something against that Spurs defence? As a regular owner, I've never been too confident about clean sheets. But we'll have to see how it goes. Maybe Mourinho will try and park the bus. Maybe they'll give all the possession to City and try and play on the counter. And maybe that'll play into Spurs' hands. But for me, I haven't really considered a captain from that game. Like, for me, I'm probably going to go for Rashford if he's fit. I'm just going to target that West Brom game. It's another reason I would strongly consider someone like Calvert-Lewin against Fulham. And to be honest, Grealish isn't really high up my list. I know he's very popular in the community, but for me, there's plenty of players I'd rather captain before Grealish. Rashford, Fernandes, Mane, probably even De Bruyne, to be honest. So maybe I should have talked about them, but look, I didn't. This video has been long enough as it is. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. Please do hit subscribe as well if you're new around here. Trying to hit that 125k. I'll just do a quick shout out to all the Patreon legends as well. Everyone that signed up to Patreon gets on the Legends wall, so thanks very much if you've already signed up. And if you haven't, there is a very handy link in the description below. I'll leave it there. I'll be back on Saturday for a deadline stream around 10:15 a.m. UK time. So hopefully see you there, and I'll have a Q&A up on Patreon for anyone that's signed up on Friday afternoon as well. Thanks very much for watching. I will catch you soon.